You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
Welcome to the first edition of the Hoodie Boys. Kelly Hrudey and Dan O'Toole, both dressed identical. Kelly, I got to start. First off, thanks for being here. I got to start with a long overdue thank you. I'm going back to 1999, 2000. I worked in Fort McMurray, and once a year we would come down to Edmonton and do a little show out right beside the Oilers dressing room. So we were from Fort McMurray. No one knew who we were. And we approached you to come on the show, and you said, no problem. So you gave us your time, even though you didn't have to, 25 years ago. So a long overdue. Thank you for coming on our show then.
My pleasure. What a memory you have. Did I do a good job or was I lousy? Because that's early on in my broadcasting days.
You actually got us a bunch of stuff because it was the Doug Waite days, and my one buddy there, he was trying to get stuff for a charity auction, and you're like, Dougie, go get him stuff. And they were bringing out sticks and gloves, and it was like Christmas Day, so thank you for that.
Okay, that's a great memory. Thanks for bringing that up, Dan.
Yeah, that was a long ago time. Bill Guerin was there. Dougie Waite. Yeah, you're still in Alberta. You're now doing Flames games. How are the nerves of Flames fans? Because it's scoreboard watching every single night.
Actually, I think the nerves are pretty good. People are pretty excited. You know, you sometimes micro manage as a fan. Sometimes, scoring has been difficult the last 3 games for them. But that's after 2 really impressive losses coming out of the Four Nations break. You think of that. The San Jose, they had an important win here about a week ago versus San Jose. But most importantly, a week ago today, they went into Washington, one of the hardest buildings in the league, and they beat them 3-1. And then they've had a bit of a tough time. But overall, I think fans would tell you, if you were to say in March of this year, from last summer, or would they be in a playoff position or knock you on the door? Fans would have said, not a chance. And so I think, you look at the team and how close they are. I travel with them and I'm around them quite a bit at home. They just love playing for each other. And I really believe that bond is helping them.
And it's also a unique environment. The Saddle Dome, it's the most unique building now and the most on top of the game for fans. Do they take that for granted, the Flames players, or do they embrace that because of the unique quality of that building?
Unique is a good way to explain it, Dan.
It's been, how many times has it been flooded? Like 4 times?
I'm not sure the exact number, but 2013 was when we really got hit badly with the latest flood here in downtown Calgary. But I think that the players are making do with the building. They do love the atmosphere. The fans are really good. But I think it's safe to say the players, the organization, and the fans of the Flames here in Calgary are really looking forward to the new building. It's right next door to the iconic Scotiabank Saddle Dome. So when you're going to a game, you drive by the brand new construction, and everybody's just waiting until the fall of 2027 for the new building. We deserve it.
They've already broke ground, everything. That's amazing. I didn't even know that.
Well underway. It's going to be an amazing project.
Okay. Good things happening in Calgary. You've had a lot of opportunities to see the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
Is anyone going to beat them?
Oh, that's a great question, Dan. Well, it starts in net, right? So if you've got a phenomenal goaltender like Hellebuck, it's going to start there. Although I think most Jets fans would maybe go back to last year and how it didn't quite go so well in the first round versus Colorado, and they're hoping that Hellebuck and the entire organization learn from it. I just think they're so deep, the Jets. When you've got a third-line center as valuable as Adam Lowry, you are talking about an organization that has depth, maybe unlike anybody else. There's a couple other really good teams up there, but I just love the way Winnipeg plays, and their coach has done a phenomenal job. When you're replacing a guy like Rick Bowness, it's not easy either, right? Rick has such a command in the dressing room and behind the bench, but Scott Arneal's done a great job with that.
I hope to hell their record is selling tickets there in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I know when ownership and management started talking about that, that kind of surprised me because living in Calgary, I'd go to Winnipeg once or twice a year for games, and I never really paid attention. But when they brought it up that they're not selling out every night, it really shocked me. And so I haven't followed that storyline very much this year, but knowing how well the team has played, I would hope that they're getting sellouts every night. They should.
I checked the Flames roster. You guys have about just over a half dozen American-born players. Do they understand what is happening with their anthem in Canada? Are they aware they aren't being booed? It's what's going on that's being booed.
Well, let's just say the last time I did a home game with an American team, I don't believe anybody booed the U.S. anthem. Okay. They haven't been home in, I want to say 10 days, and I didn't do that. That was a Sunday afternoon. And prior to that, there had been the Four Nations break. So I could be wrong. I'm not trying to dodge the question, Dan.
No.
I'm under the impression from when I've done games that wasn't an issue. I don't know when Flames come back home what may happen.
Okay. No, I know you're not dodging it. It is what it is. It's going to happen across this country. Yeah. I looked in the stat book. The last time every Canadian team made the playoffs, 1986.
Really?
There's a lot of things that need to happen, but currently we've got 3 in. Mm-hmm. Sens, Habs. Well, actually, we might have 4 in if you count the Flames because they're currently in one. But Canucks are hovering. Sens are hovering. Habs are hovering. Wouldn't that be great for the country's psyche to have every Canadian team in the postseason for the first time since 1986?
That would be amazing. Selfishly, I'd say it's also great for our network. So when we get Canadian games, I mean, that's magical. That's right. But you're right. I'm looking at the standings right now. I have my phone in my hand looking. So Ottawa and Montreal both only a point out. Mm-hmm. Then you look at in the West, Vancouver, they're tied with Calgary. So something's got to give there. But
so it is possible.
It's definitely possible. That'd be so cool. And, you know, everybody talks about the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup, and I happen to be the losing goalie. So let's not spend a lot of time on that, okay, buddy? Let's sort of move beyond that.
When you were a goalie, I just have to bring this up because it just came to me. You were one of the first goalies to have colored pads.
Yes.
And I was a goalie growing up. Mm-hmm. I went everywhere to try find colored pads. You started a trend and you started a want in every goalie that was playing at that time.
Well, you know what? I'll just correct you a little bit. I wasn't the first because my partner, Billy Smith, had colored pads before I did. I think.
Well, you made them more cool than Billy Smith.
I definitely, when I went to Los Angeles, I had them painted differently, and I had film roll and a whole bunch of different things on there. I may have had a Hollywood sign on my mask and on my pads, maybe. So I took the colored pads to a different level. But yeah, it made it more cool, didn't it? Other than that tan color that we all grew up wearing. And I thought, why not make this a little bit more interesting to look at? Just very, very simple.
Yeah, you know the struggles. I always talk about it. I had to wear horsehair pads. So by the end of the third period, I was described as a flopper. I was a flopper. So by the third period, those things were cinder blocks.
And people don't remember that, right? Like, people don't know that back in the 60s and 70s and early 80s, that those pads were outrageously heavy. like you said, you know, cinder blocks on your legs. And in the third period, you couldn't barely move. And by the way, what people won't remember either, Dan, is how they didn't really protect you all that well. Like, a really hard shot, you felt it. Right through the pad.
If you were in a crouch, and it hit your knee, you felt every piece of that puck.
And this is a good thing, but today's goalies, they don't experience it like that. Like, you know, on occasion, for sure, they get banged up a little bit with the shot. depends where it gets them. But this was, I remember, okay, I've got a story for you. So I first started in junior in 1978 with Medicine Hat Tigers. Near the end of my second year, my coach was a guy by the name of Patty Janelle, and he introduced me in Billings after a game to a legendary hockey man by the name of Hrudey Pillis. I think Hrudey was still scouting for maybe the Chicago Blackhawks. At one point, he had been a general manager with Chicago when they won a cup, I want to say in the 60s. Anyways, I'm introduced to Hrudey after the game, and he says something like, "Hey, Kelly, there's a lot of things I like about your game, but sometimes it looks like you're scared of the puck." I went, "Yeah, it hurts." Like I didn't even try and dodge it. I didn't say, "Well, no, I was like, "Yeah, it hurts." And, if you played goal back then, that was a common theme.
So speaking of that, what was the hardest shot that you stopped from who? Was it like Al Iafrate, Al McInnes?
Well, I didn't play a lot against Al Iafrate. I played with him for a couple years in San Jose, but luckily for us goaltenders there, he would only shoot about 80% on us. But I remember one, and you can find it on YouTube. I think it was a 5-on-3 power play the Calgary Flames had. I was with the LA Kings, and they got it back to Al McInnes in the slot for a one-timer. And it was coming right at my forehead, and I was able to sort of duck. It just ever so slightly glanced off my mask and hit the glass behind me, and it shattered. You can find it. It's really cool. It's amazing feat somehow that I got out of the way of that. Otherwise, it would have got me right dead square in the forehead.
Do you look back on the way the game was played and how your position was taught and how it was played? Because you look at some of the saves where it was the classic glove save, and you're supposed to stop it if it's near the ice with the side of your leg.
Yeah.
No one ever said maybe we should be doing this different.
Well, you know what?
It was the classic highlight save though. That made it on every highlight reel.
And I mean, you're taking your skate blade, which is only about this long, and you're trying to stop a puck that's this wide. And so you don't have very much surface area, unlike the goalies today where they use the entire pad on the ice. Having said that, I don't think we could have played the way goalies today play simply because our equipment wasn't protective enough. Like, there was not a chance I was going down in a butterfly on some of these shots that they take today, because I would have broken my collarbone 3 times every month. I mean, our equipment wasn't protective enough to expose ourselves to the kind of dangers that you would in today's game. It's just as simple as that. You look at the equipment and the size of it. It's enormous now, and that's good. We need the goalies to be protected. But at the same time, had we tried that many years ago, we wouldn't have had long careers. We would have all been injured badly.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Growing up, who was your favorite goalie that you watched?
Well, it's a two-parter. I start with Jacques Plante, and then I quickly morph into Bernie Parent, because Bernie Parent was a disciple of Jacques Plante. I don't know if you ever got that book, but Jacques Plante wrote a book in the 70s, and it was something like Goaltending. It was a very simple name. And that was kind of like my book I went to bed with every single night, and I went over every aspect of it. And he mentions in there how important skating was, so I really worked on my skating. But then when Bernie Parent was in his heyday in the National Hockey League, I just loved watching him, so I idolized him. I tried to do everything that he did on the ice. And I was lucky enough, even though we're rivals, when I played for the Islanders, Bernie Parent was a goalie coach for the Flyers, and he somehow heard that I idolized him as a kid. And so one time we were leaving the Spectrum, and he came out, he found me, and we had a nice chat off to the side so nobody knew. And it was just, nothing short of a lifetime memory that I still think of to this day, how kind he was to me, even though we were in the same division and we were the rivals that hated each other, but it was very kind.
That's pretty cool. I like hearing stuff like that. The only goaltending book I got was Grant Fuhr's, and this one sticks with me to this day. It was one tip was if you go behind the net to play the puck, go back to the net the same way you came. And I'm like,
that's right.
Is that true?
Oh, it still is to this day. It's still the quickest way. And so when I watch goaltenders, sometimes, and even at the National Hockey League level, guys don't do that. And on occasion, they get burned. And I'm like, somebody should just give them a gentle reminder that, the shortest way to stop the puck is you go, let's say you're going to your left side, you make a sharp turn and go directly to the boards. You try not to go right to the middle of behind the net, because then it's further to come back. And so you try and do it as quickly as possible. Now there's different things that are in play, your exchanges with your defensemen and things, and how much time you may have. But just in general terms, that's the quickest way, and you should go back the same way you started.
Okay. I always wondered about that one, and I'm glad you confirmed it. That's the correct way. Hey, this is Toronto Sports Rush, so we should talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Your thoughts on the Leafs and their chances. Have they figured out the formula this year? Is this the year for the Leafs?
Well, I love the team. It's funny. So what day is this? March 4th. So whenever somebody may be watching this, and it was interesting. So I'm here in Calgary. I leave in a couple days to go to Toronto for the trade deadline and then the Saturday show. And I'm reading all this stuff, and all these people in the media, or I guess on social media, they're ripping the Leafs because they lost in a shootout to the San Jose Sharks on a Monday night. And I look at their record in their previous 10 games, and they're 8-1-1. Like, I think that's pretty darn good. You can nitpick, you can find reasons why, they should have beat the Sharks, but, it's a tough league. And sometimes, they're just coming off a four-game road trip. Now they're going back on the road for 3, I believe, starting in Vegas. I like their team a lot. Can you add a little bit of depth? Of course. Are they missing Tanev? Certainly. But it's a team that I really love. And, I think you always talk about their top forwards like Matthews. He can score a little bit more. There's no question. But Marner's unbelievable. Nylander's, he's must-watch television right now. Tavares is having a good year. And how about Nyes? Like, this kid is unbelievable. The way he positions himself in the front of the net, how strong he is. He uses that big body. I think he's 6'3", about 225 pounds. He's impossible to move in front. I like this team a lot.
Did their coach ever score on you?
Well, I made a lot of people rich. I'm not sure Craig did, but I would have to probably say yes. I mean, I let in a lot of goals. Let's just be honest. So I'm sure Craig did at some point.
You never know. We'll have to look at the side by side. The Leafs goaltending. That was the biggest question mark coming in.
Yeah.
But that is not a question mark at all so far this season.
No, I think Joseph Woll. He was when he got called up. What was that? A couple years ago. One of the things that he talked about is that he wanted to read the play a little bit better. Like his technique, everything, he's one of the best. He's very quiet in the net. He's very efficient in his movements, but he talked about reading the play a little bit better. And boy, has he ever really improved at that. And a lot of that is when you look at his positioning, he's ahead of the play, and that's hard to do. That's one of the last things for a goaltender to really excel at that level. And so you have to be ahead of it. Stolarz that's a great story considering the injuries that he had throughout his career, and that somehow he is able to persevere and not give up. I mean, he had, for some guys, it would have been career-ending injuries, and he is able to continue on and battle through. And I know there was some talk, I won't say which organization that he played in a number of years ago, and I was talking to their goalie coach, and they didn't think that he is ever going to recover from one of the injuries he had. So it's a great story.
Kelly, we thank you for this. I'm here to tell people point blank that our industry, the TV media industry, there's a lot of phony people. And you are not one of those people. You are a genuine nice guy. That comes through on the screen and in person back in 1999 when I was just a young buck trying to make it in this world. You gave me the time of day.
I love it, Dan. And right back at you, buddy. I watch you and I say, there's a nice person. And so you can be that in our industry and still have a career.
You can, surprisingly. Thank you, my friend, and hopefully see every one of those Canadian teams in the postseason.
You got it. Take care. Thanks for inviting me on the show, Dan.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.